Welcome back to Rated Radio with your hosts Rayburn Alexander and Shane Wyndham. Rayburn, what's going on in your world?
Whole lot of nothing, but I want to take this opportunity to thank all the wonderful people that came out to Lavish's Trunk or Treat meet and greet yesterday to meet one half of the Rated Radio team. It was very fun, very interesting, and I'm glad we were a part of it. I'm
clearly too good for all of y'all. The real world in general.
Yeah, you have to pay him in advance to show up. So, what's going on in your world, Shane?
Well, we had a coronavirus scare this week, so my wife's been home, but none of us have coronavirus.
Yay!
So that's good. I want to apologize in advance if it looks like I have jizzed all over my shirt. There's soap still on it from the washing machine.
Okay.
I kept wondering, why didn't I wear this shirt this week? No, that's right. Literally it's the jizz shirt. It's got the...
Didn't even notice.
Yeah. Anyway, most of what I wanted to talk about right here was stuff for our guest this week. And that's my brother-in-law, Joseph. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How did last night go?
It was awesome. We did the whole Halloween thing, and I got to dress as a clown and stand on the roof of the house and freak people out, so it was pretty cool.
You were sending candy down a chute, or was that happening?
Well, see, we got it gets really hot in costume, so we had a couple costumes, and we were swapping out throughout the night. That way everybody got breaks. I now appreciate people more who work at a haunted house, because I bet that is a hell of a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brutal. You sold your car this last week. That couldn't have been an easy thing to do. Are you looking for something specific whenever you go to get the next one?
It will be another project. I'm not sure yet. I've always been Mustangs, strictly Mustangs. But I was looking into, I kind of want to build an S10 truck. So I'm looking into going with an S10 with a 383 stroker or something like that. But it won't be anytime soon. The whole reason for getting rid of the car was finances and getting back where we needed to be. So I'm going to accomplish that first before I start any other projects.
Yeah, being an adult sucks.
Oh, yeah. I found out this week. Remember me talking about how I thought my commissions from the in-store sales might have been halved?
Yeah.
2/3. 2/3 gone. So
at least you're happy.
It's been brutal all the way around, but yes, I am.
There you go.
Enough about us. Roll the intro. Nobody has anything to say?
Nope.
Well, allow me to get into this. I'm going to go ahead and start out with my gift for our guest, and that's a list of 5 songs that make me think about my brother-in-law here. Number 1 for me is Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue. This is kind of a 2-for-1 pick. It lets me highlight your love of Motley Crue, Joseph. Listeners, go watch the Dirt film on Netflix if you haven't already seen it. But this also brings to mind all the time we spent playing Guitar Hero at the West Wind apartment. Something I'll never forget is that while the rest of us were trying to kick ourselves into playing the game on Expert, you were on a mission to perfect the game on Medium, by which I mean you'd obsessively play a song until you could get through it without missing a single note. And that sort of dedication and uniqueness is something I've always respected about you.
Well, thank you.
Aww.
Mr. Medium, and people would joke. Some of the people that would come around every now and then who thought they were great, and they'd miss 8 million notes on Hard or Expert. But then you sit Joseph down in front of it, and they want to joke because he's picked Medium, and then he 100%s the song. Yeah, let's see you do it.
Yeah, I had Thunderkiss 65 down without looking at the TV.
Yeah. That's nice. Just remember that he's Mr. Medium, not Mr. Small.
Wow.
Maybe Mr. Easy, but never Mr. Small.
Whoa. Whoa.
I'm trying to boost his confidence this morning. Come on, guy.
Confidence booster. Next pick for me is Quarantine Fucking Tonight by Mark Rebillet. Now, you actually sent this song to me via YouTube, And I was happy to find that it's now on Spotify just in time for your appearance. This was a Two Girls, One Quarantine is what it's called on YouTube. And you've yet to watch it, right, Raven? I'm
I
guessing
have
based
yet
on
to watch it.
It's on our playlist. You should go check it out. But if I had $1 for every time I've heard the phrase, she totally wants me, come out of Joseph's mouth. Most recently, you upped your game, dude, to a whole new level. We were at a gas station, I think, filling up a moving truck or something, and there were two girls on the side of the building with their hood open, looking completely lost, right? Like their vehicle was broken down. They didn't know what they were doing, but they still seemed determined to fix it. So Joseph being Joseph, he got out to go help. And all I remember, apart from Michael and I joking about how this would all unfold, like what was going to happen, will he get in the car and go with them to some shop, or are they going to stab him, or whatever? All I remember is Joseph coming back and saying, yeah, they totally want me.
Nice.
Not she, it was not one or the other, it was
Both of
they.
them equally.
And to be clear, this situation was completely innocent. It's just a funny aside.
I can't help the signals I am sent, Shane.
Blue,
By every woman you meet on the planet.
It's not just women, some guys too.
Blue and I were talking about
God damn it.
we were talking about Joseph and when we were younger and how we used to go to grandma's to not the old trailer. Well, yeah, not the old trailer. But we were talking about we were driving through Denton earlier in the week and the Dollar General Family Dollar that used to be the Piggly Wiggly.
Right.
I was like, I remember Joseph skateboarding outside that Piggly Wiggly when he was just little. And I was little.
I remember they built a ramp one day on the road we lived on. And they were filming it. They had that fucking camcorder out and they were filming. Was it you who actually went to hit this thing because everyone was scared to? And it was wooden, right?
And went through the
Just
center
went through
of it?
Yes.
That was, can I say his name? You think it's cool?
Yeah, first
All
names.
right. It was Nathan.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that was hilarious. He dropped down the ramp, went up the other ramp. His skateboard flew straight out, and midway, his body, like his waist, just fell and tore right through the middle of the ramp. And he was like bent this weird way and like yelling. Dude, it was greatness. That was hilarious.
Good times.
Yeah.
And plenty of Nathan stories to share. If you ever come back on, we should go down that rabbit hole.
Oh, yes. There's plenty there.
Third for me here is Late by Ben Folds. We've been through a lot, and whether it's writing music, helping people in a pinch, dealing with our own drama, or just showing up when called on, there are a million things you've done, never expecting any kind of thanks, and I never wanted it to be too late to say thank you. So this song is my way. Give it a listen, and you'll understand why.
All right, I will.
You sentimental shit.
I have to sneak it in there, right?
I know. At least it's early.
So moving away from the sentimental shit, fourth is Fat Around the Heart by King 810. Joseph's been introducing me to new music since we first met. I was just a teenager, I think. Had just become a teenager. He was still telling us his name was Kyle.
Yeah.
How long did that go on? We thought you were Kyle for a while.
Dude, years. And even when everyone started finding out my name was Joseph, they thought my middle name was Kyle. So they still thought there was association in there. Because when everybody started coming around my mom, obviously, she was like, Joseph. And I was like, nobody thinks that's my name. It's Kyle, Mom.
No, Mom, my name is Kyle.
So she went along with it for a little bit, but then she was like, no, we can't do that. So she started calling me Joseph. So everybody was just like, oh, your middle name must be Kyle. And I just was like, oh, yeah. So we just went with that.
So please explain to me, because I was around for the no, his name is Kyle, no, his name is Joseph battle going on. What made you choose Kyle?
Well, I have a cousin named Kyle. And for whatever reason, growing up, I thought that was the coolest name, dude. Like when I used to watch movies as a kid, I mean, I don't have any examples, but all the cool people were Kyle. Okay. So I was like, oh, well, I want to be that surfer, skateboarder Kyle, dude.
You straight up
from all
jacked
the
your
movies.
cousin's name.
So I was like, and I took you can be whoever you want to be to a whole new level.
He really did.
Yeah.
This is where the nickname stuff comes from in the book. It's where it started. We started trying to give everybody nicknames when we knew his real name. Life just felt like a lie. You had to have something else.
Yeah.
So I remember I started calling this motherfucker Snatch.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was you. It may have been Ethan. Somebody started calling me fucking Pop-Tart. because that was a big thing on my diet when I came off of Atkins was I would eat like one fucking Pop-Tart
Pop-Tart.
for half the day. And anyway,
It's better than pine or cheesecake. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
I still feel bad about the Snatch thing, but it was it was meant as a nice thing, like because that movie Snatch. Like,
Oh, with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, some of the characters made me think about Joseph. It was never meant as like an insult, but I think everyone thought I was just calling him a pussy.
Good movie.
Well, me being the age I was, the Snatch thing kind of went over my head.
Oh,
I thought
I was like,
at the time, I thought, oh yeah, I still shit sometimes. Like, so I thought that's where the name came from. I mean,
okay.
I was just like, okay, whatever,
I still shit sometimes.
But that was, it was only corporations I stole from.
Right?
That was it.
Nice.
Kyle.
Thank you for not targeting small business owners.
I'm going to put Kyle on this week's show notes. It'll be like featuring Kyle. Last pick for me here is Bring Your Whole Crew by DMX.
Oh, that's my shit.
My list for you was a mile long. I went with this as a final pick because DMX music in general takes me back to a place where we were around each other, usually daily, for a long time. From homelessness to night swimming to hotel rooms and things I'd be in trouble for talking about in detail on the show. DMX music fits most of those situations one way or another, and you used to claim this was your favorite DMX song, and that's why it's here.
Yes, it was. I used to play that over and over and over. Definitely a favorite.
I can attest to this. Anyway, so we have some questions for you. We're going to go ahead and get through the first 5, and then we'll move to our first artist here. Tell us about your favorite concert experience.
Okay, I couldn't decide. I kind of got 2. So me and Al went and saw FLAW at Trees.
And I knew this was going to be here.
We were... that's when I actually got to meet, like, Chris. He was standing outside smoking a cigarette, which is the singer. So we went out there. We talked to him for a while. Well, me, Al, and the guitarist really hit it off. Like, so we were hanging out with him for, like, probably a good hour or longer before the show.
That's cool.
And there was a picture where I was actually underage at the time to be drinking. But there's a picture, Al may have it, I don't know. It ended up somewhere. But I'm on my knees with my hands out. And I'm looking up, and Lance, the guitarist, he is pouring beer in my mouth. My mouth just open.
Nice.
So after Al snaps this picture, he feels like he has to one-up me, because that's what he does, especially when he's drinking. He runs up and he goes, bro, okay, look. Now I want a picture of you downing the beer, and then you spit it in my mouth. And Lance looks at him, bro, and he goes, that's probably the weirdest request I've ever had. But if that's something you want to do, man, we can make it happen. And so it ended up just being a picture where he has like super long dreads. So he hung them over Al's head, basically.
Nice.
So it looks like the dreads are on Al, too.
Right.
So he took that picture. But yeah, we ended up hanging out with this dude for a long time, man. He told us all about the band and all kinds of stuff. My next one was Avatar at Texas Mutiny, which is a show that you took us to. And we went, the main reason we were going was Chevelle. I believe Hell Yeah was there, and a couple other bands I was really wanting to see. Avatar had just hit the radio here in the States with one of their songs, Something Burn, Just Let It Burn. Okay, and we didn't go to see Avatar, but by the end of their set, we were there to see Avatar.
Yeah, I remember showing up with Megan, and I've talked about this concert experience before. It's where we saw the Deftones and Chevelle.
Outdoor venue place.
Yeah, and they had multiple stages, and it was like they weren't even impressed with anything that was being played. It was like, y'all should have been here for Avatar.
Oh, yes, they were killer, dude. They weren't even on the main stage. And the way they end their shows is he dresses like a director of like a circus type thing, Right. And he's got this stick, he waves it around, and he all the guitarists and the whole band basically moves in sync with each other, and he acts like he's directing them, like they're just machines, and he's making them do it. And at the end of the show, as they're closing out, they're doing like this little solo on drums and stuff. And he's like, we're Avatar and we're from Sweden and we just stole the show. Dude, it's cool, man. I was cool. Like, that is insane. But those are my 2. I hope it wasn't too long.
I have a question because I don't remember exactly. Do you have my FLAW drum head?
Yes.
I give that to
That
you.
thing's been passed around.
Yeah.
I think Andy
Gave it to me.
gave it to you. You gave it to me, and then Al ended up with it because that's where we jam mostly. That's where our band rooms end up. So it's on the wall in there. But yeah, I've got that band's autograph probably 4 times. Like I've got one for Katie before.
Very
I
cool.
don't know what happened to it, but every time I was around them, I'd get their autographs, and I've seen them probably 5 or 6 times.
Nice.
So we're a big fan going into this, just so you know.
Yes, yes.
Question number 2. What's one of your favorite moments in a song?
Okay, I don't know if this is anyone else's, but mine is intro. If a song's got a really good intro, it'll catch me.
Because that's what initially grabs you.
Right. Like, I mean, like, I just love, like, intros, man. Like, I catch myself saying that all the time. Like when I go, I go to show someone something, or, mostly Al, I'm always showing him music. He's showing me music. Like, we're focused on intros. Like, dude, listen to this intro. Listen to this intro. And that's what really hooks me on a
I can
song.
appreciate that. I know that feeling.
That's what people are hearing first, too. So
Yeah.
when you're showing them music, obviously that makes sense.
And a lot of people don't usually, if the intro doesn't hook them or within the first, what do we say, like a minute and a half, usually people will move on and not want to sit through the whole song.
You get a really good feel for what the groove throughout the song is going to be most of the time, too, right there at the intro. So
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
What's the first album you remember owning?
Okay, so this one is a toss-up. So my grandma gave me a bunch of CDs at one point. I listed 3 of those that she gave me, and then 2 that I picked, I begged my mom to buy them.
Right.
Which was, they're very weird. So the first 3 that my grandma gave me, that I actually listened to these, bro. Like, it was insane. Barry White.
Okay.
Solid choice.
I don't remember the album name. I just remember it was Barry White. And All For One. All For One.
That was one of my first.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Montel Jordan.
Okay.
I believe that's the
This Is How We Do It.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I was obsessed with
He
that song
did
for a
it.
long time.
He did it.
So then we were at the store. My mom was getting groceries or something at Walmart, and I was young, bro. And I see this album, these 2 album covers. Okay, one, the way I remember it in my mind anyway, is like a group of guys standing around this cross that's on fire. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So it was AZ Yet.
Okay.
They're like a R&B group.
Yeah, they covered a Chicago song, and they've got a hit that was Last Night, I think is what it's called. Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
I know that group.
I like begged for this album. She was like against it just because the cover. And then my other one was Rob Zombie. I think it's Hellbilly Deluxe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think it was like the weird demonic covers of the albums that made it seem interesting.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I got to get these albums. And Dragula was my thing for a long time until I felt like I was being haunted as a child. And then it started to freak me out. And my mom basically was like, I told you this would happen. And
You have Satan in your soul now.
Took the album away from me. So, yeah.
By
but
then,
those
the
are
damage was done.
I can't remember the exact first one, but I remember those albums.
That's cool.
Nice.
How has your taste in music evolved over time?
So the only way I could answer this is just simply I listen to more now. Like I used to be more if it wasn't more metal, I wasn't hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
Or like when I went through the whole punk phase, if it wasn't punk, I wasn't listening to it. So I think now is my I listen to, everything from classic to rock to country to pretty much a lot more now.
Yeah.
You've broadened your musical horizons
Exactly.
a little bit more.
What do you think was a good song that moved you away from like some of that? Like what had you listening to country? Because that seems pretty far out of field for what you started listening to when we were young.
It was Jason Aldean.
Yeah?
Yep. Hicktown, she's country. He was the first one I had heard that had, I don't know, I call it rock guitars.
Yeah.
He's the first one that really introduced, that heavy, that heavier sound with country.
Yeah.
And then it led me over to Brantley Gilbert. Then it just went over to Kenny Chesney, and it just kept spreading. Yeah. And now I'm listening to a lot more of it. So
it's like
good.
a virus.
Yeah. That's how music gets you.
Yes.
It was Chris Stapleton for me. I'm sure everyone knows that.
I don't think you've branched too much from Chris Stapleton.
I'm
That's
working
just
on
a
it.
little corner.
Give me a little time.
What's an album you love, Joseph, which most people have probably never heard?
OM Factor. It's a band called Living Syndication.
See, I knew he was going to I've never heard of that.
Don't even look at me.
It's a band. I forget where they're from. And I don't believe they're together anymore, but I didn't look into it when I listed it. I just know a bunch of people were listing this album, these songs. They have a few songs, one called Choke. Me and Al were listening to it for a long time, but they were being listed as a perfect circle because they really have that sort of sound. To me, the singer, a lot of the times he reminds me of Maynard. We showed a few other people and they were like, oh, that's not a perfect circle. Me and Al just thought they were doing something a little different.
Okay.
And we thought it was a perfect circle for a while before we ended up finding out it was really just a band called Living Syndication, but we still really liked it.
So I think the last time I was around, I was drinking. Big surprise. But I didn't make a note of something you showed me. It was a metal band, I think, but the lead singer was foreign, maybe Eastern. You know what I'm talking about? I think they do the chants.
Is it the Mongolian throat singing?
Yes, thank you.
Dude,
what is that?
They're called the Who, but it's spelled obviously differently.
H-U?
Yes,
Okay.
I think it is. Yes, but they're called the Who. And they did a song with Jacoby from Papa Roach. It's really good. Called Wolf Totem or something. But yeah, dude, awesome Mongolian throat singing.
I had to clarify that before we moved on here.
It's funny because Al walks around now, like at work sometimes, like, ooh, oh. And he's actually pretty good at Mongolian throat singing. So we might try that out when we start recording again.
I'm not surprised. Dude's much more talented than he gets credit for. We messed with Al a lot back in the day. I remember when we would record music, he'd only get one take, and we'd usually make sure it was not like a good take, like people be trying to make him laugh in the background or something stupid.
Yeah.
We fucked with Al, and I know Al is quite capable with a guitar in his hands or singing in front of a microphone. So I'm apologizing to Al for C3PO days specifically.
Yeah, dude, his rap in that CMB thing, the little rap thing we had, dude, it surprised me.
It still gets quoted all the time. Put a Twizzler in your ass and twizzle it fast.
I think back when y'all were doing the CMB stuff, I think I quoted Joseph's stuff the most. Specifically, Headrest was my favorite.
Yeah, that song came together really quickly.
It hurts. It really hurts. I love that song still to this day.
My favorite from all of it, my favorite writing experience from memory was, I think we had been recording or we had been playing around with ideas all day, and it was the four of us riding in a car somewhere, but we get almost where we're going, and Cock in Your Face was being sung. Like, we had no riff or anything yet, or maybe the riff did exist, but we didn't have, I don't remember. It just came together in a car at night that was packed full of us and the guitars and stuff, and it was a good moment.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff came together like that. Like the Headrest was just me and Al. We had this riff that we were kind of working on in the garage, and then I was like, dude, what if we just freestyle this and spurt out some really weird, funny lyrics? And he was like, yeah, let's try that. So we literally just sat down, hit record, and obviously I started it out, and then I handed the microphone to him, around the second verse, and he said what he said, and he handed it back, and we just passed the microphone back. Those lyrics were never written down. It was never something we actually sat down and wrote.
That was my favorite parts about the whole song was it sounded like two dudes just fucking around, talking about this, throwing it to some music. Just a conversation that people probably have all the fucking time. So that's one of the things that I really loved about it. But for clarification, I don't know if you already said in past episodes, what is Crude Mama's Boys, Shane?
I don't remember where that comes from. We had it for years. I want to say early teens, people were coming up with names for groups that they would put together if they ever did. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I was big into ICP at that point. Mm-hmm. And then there were plenty of other groups that came along after, like Bloodhound Gang, Psycho Stick. They all just kind of played a part
But Crude Mama's Boys was a group, a short-lived group at one period of time.
Yeah.
Made up of...
Me, Joseph, Al, and Sean.
Just giving the listeners clarification that don't know.
All related somewhat now. And I think what happened is Meg and I split for a minute, and I missed Sean being around. So I bugged him about coming over and writing music.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time we got together to write a little bit of music, we also knew that Joseph and Al were doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they had done the headrest already.
Right.
That was in addition to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
That just made us think we should go ahead and, which I had written riffs and shit with Joseph for years. And again, someday maybe we go back and write some serious lyrics to some of that. And,
yeah, I think it's...
Because the music was great in places. The recordings were not, but...
Yeah. Yeah, well, we did, like, dude, everything was one take off that whole thing. And we were recording, like, albums in a day. Like, I mean, it was just straight recording and just albums every day.
Tracking live, most of the time, Joseph was making up drums.
Yes. As we
5 seconds before we started.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I remember Death to Grandma was a live freestyle.
Yep, that was all music. Everything was freestyle.
And we were all intoxicated.
Yes.
Nice.
That turned out to be one of my favorite songs.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff there. Anyway, we're off in left field here, and I apologize.
I do not.
I wanted to say sorry to Al for never putting his best foot forward. It was a comedy project, but in hindsight, I think we kind of did him wrong sometimes, especially when it came to riffs.
I never did.
Yeah, no, you didn't. But I would get impatient. Like, he'd want to learn the guitar, and he'd want to perfect it, and he'd get real frustrated because we were trying to record everything in a hurry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
One
I'd
day
jump on
album
there,
shit.
and the guitar would end up sounding like shit because it's live tracked, and I play guitar backwards, upside down. I'm left-handed,
Yep.
but I play on right-handed guitars. It never sounded as good as it would have if Al had done it, and I know that because we have tracks where Al records guitar, and yeah, it sounds superior to say the least. Anyway, moving on to our first artist, which was FLAW. That's Joseph's pick for the week. The first album we recorded.
We recorded this album.
No, we did not record this album. We most definitely did not. The first album that we covered was Through the Eyes from 2001. This was my runner-up.
This was my top album.
This is definitely my top.
I gave it 10 fives.
I gave it 3.
Okay.
I knew it!
It's all good.
I gave it 12.
Okay. So pretty close to perfect there for you.
Yes, it
Yeah.
really is. It's like, it's all there.
My top track was What I Have to Do.
My top track was Best I Am.
It's very hard, but
Is it now?
I would have to go with a Thank Hole.
That's a good one. That was written about his mom, right?
Yes, it was
Adoptive mother that
Yes.
committed suicide when he was young.
Yep.
Real emotional track. My bottom track was Amendment.
Mine was Reliance.
My bottom track is What I Have to Do.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I have some fond memories of that song back when we stayed at West Wind because you were around all the time. So I was listening to FLAW all the time. And I would go for walks to the park and I'd listen to that song because life was pretty brutal in younger days. Anyway, next album we covered was Endangered Species from 2004. This was my top album.
This fell in the middle for me.
This one was, I guess you could call it the middle. It wasn't my runner-up, but it's not my bottom. It's my second pick, basically.
12 fives. That's a perfect rating. Yeah.
I don't have my phone. I gave it 2.
Okay. I gave it 6.
My top track is Worlds Divide.
My top track was Wait For Me.
My top track would be Not Enough.
It was really hard not to choose that as a top track as well. Very emotional song.
Yes.
Bottom track was Decide.
My bottom track was You've Changed.
My bottom track would be Many Faces.
Okay. I was waiting on you to say Worlds Divide just to just to go at me again. My note here was that this is still one of the best alt metal albums I've ever heard. So I knew going in, because I'd rated this previously, every time I've sat down to listen to it. I don't remember liking everything the first time I heard it, but something about this album just gets me every time.
And for the record, can I just say, I'm here to learn. This was, aside from knowing the very little about FLAW that I knew because of Joseph and like the Through the Eyes album cover. I recognized because I think somebody had it on CD when I was younger. But I'm taking a big step back this week, and I want to hear what all you guys have to say about FLAW because I want to know more. So if it comes across as, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So I'm just here to learn.
All good. I'm going to be at the same spot with Heart. So
there you go.
I'm somewhere in the middle. So anyway, Divided We Fall was our next album from 2016. This was next to last for me.
This was my bottom album.
This was next to last for me.
I don't like saying next to last in this case because I still felt pretty good about it. I do like this album quite a lot. I gave it 7 5s.
I gave it 0 5s. But I gave 4s and 3s pretty regularly throughout.
All right, I gave it 5 5s. The way I was looking at 5s is something I would sit down and listen to like quite a bit, or like over again.
Right.
Re-listen to it. If it's something that I could do that with, then I gave it a 5.
Gotcha.
That's how I went about it.
See, and that's usually
really good.
That's usually a 4 for me. A 5, it usually has to be like exceptional, like blows my mind, was not expecting it, thoroughly enjoying it, sort of thing. So I'm usually a harder nut to crack when it comes to 5s. But that's why I have my 4s and my 5s playlist.
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying is I just spill nut all over the place.
All over your shirt.
My top track was Fatal Fall.
My top track was Heal.
That would be my top track as well.
Heal?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm very curious to see what your opinions are, so I'm liking this. My bottom track was actually My Letter, which was
Wasn't that a popular one?
It was an acoustic version of something from a previous album.
My bottom track was Fed Up.
Piano version.
My bottom track would be Do You Remember? And it was a really good song, but I was a big fan of FLAW, so I heard the early tracking to that song, and they actually changed it for the album.
Oh, okay.
So you like the original better?
Yes, the original was much better. They changed it for the album, so it kind of killed what it was for me.
I feel you.
It would have been a top track had they not changed it.
Maybe that's why I feel better about it. I never heard the original tracking, but I have the same sort of experiences with groups like Damen.
I'm just over here just...
The next album we covered was Volume 4, Because of the Brave, from 2019. This was my bottom pick.
This was second to last for me.
This would be my bottom.
I gave it 3 5s.
I gave it 0 5s.
2 5s.
Top track was Sign of the Times.
My top track was Conquer This Climb.
My top track would be the same as yours, which is Sign of Times.
Yeah. Bottom track was Wake Up.
Lest We Forget.
That would be my bottom as well.
Okay.
That was pretty weird for me. That's something way different that they did.
Pretty, like, political.
Yes, it was all... That's what I didn't like. Well, that's why the album fell to the bottom for me. Because that album was pretty political, I think. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just... and that's what I wrote here is that it had a great sound, the album did, but it was lyrically unappealing to me in places, and it sounds like the both of you agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Just so people know what they're getting into, if you hear Because of the Brave, you'd think that would give you an idea. There's going to be some very pro-soldier stuff here.
Yep.
But it does go quite a bit further than that. And that's not really a problem.
No.
It just, I liked the other stuff better.
In Lest We Forget, they talk a lot about race in that song.
Yes, and that's what the song Bleed Red.
Yep.
That's obviously what that song's about.
Mm-hmm.
Is coming together as people and not being, against someone's race, obviously.
Yeah.
And I fully support that. It's just when I was listening to FLAW in the beginning, he was writing personal, like real personal things about his life, about himself. You could tell all the feeling that was in it. Mm-hmm. And this album to me just felt like it was kind of not forced, but on that path of a little forced. Like they went political and
to be relevant.
Yes, they went like they just went too far off track, man. I think.
Yeah, it almost felt like propaganda in places for the military. Not just pro-soldier stuff that most of us could almost always get behind.
Well, it's the same thing with like Green Day's American Idiot. That was extremely politically driven, and either people loved it or they hated it for that reason. But a lot of people are listening to music to escape from the day-to-day realities that they're forced to have to deal with. So when they have to listen to it in music, it can be off-putting to some people.
Yeah. just slightly out of step with what they would normally do, because it's going to be harder to relate unless you were in the service, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
You can personally identify with what they're talking about.
So something a little different here for our 5th album. This is actually a different group. This is Five.Bolt.Main. The album's called Venting from 2005. A Joseph question here. Obviously, Chris Voles is at the lead. Were there any other members of FLAW in this group?
No. To my knowledge, I think one of the members went to FLAW at one point. That was one of the big things about this band, and that's why I felt like this could work, because if you really looked, I don't know if y'all went and researched the band at all, but if you look at past members,
There's a shit ton.
It's a long list.
It's
There's
like
a
30.
shit ton.
When that concert I told you about, when we talked to the guitarist, I'm sure they'll never hear this, so it doesn't matter. But even if they do, whatever. So Chris, apparently he obviously has a lot of issues, and it's hard for him to work with people.
Allegedly.
He likes to, apparently, from what I was told, from a band member, they had to kick him off the tour bus for beating up his girlfriend one time. He's just, people change. I don't know him now. I don't know how he is now. But from what I understand, he was going through members like crazy because he just couldn't calm down.
He might have also been trying to find a good, fit for him. And from what I hear, he's pretty passionate.
He is, as far as everything goes. Like I said, I just think obviously he had a lot of issues, probably drinking, probably more than that. I don't know.
A little bit of star syndrome going on there too.
Yes. That's why the band struggled so much. Like, I can't remember. I think it was the Divided We Fall album, or maybe it was United We Stand. Okay, United We Stand was an EP. I don't know if you saw that on there. It was like before the Divided We Fall, obviously. It was the EP for that album. And they released that with fan money. Like, fans were sending them money to record that album. The other interesting thing about this band, real quick, is if you go back in time, they actually had albums before Through the Eyes. Yep. And the way they did it, they had American Arrogance. They ordered like $30,000 of music equipment from Musician's Friend and recorded the album in 30 days and used the 30-day return policy and returned it all.
Nice.
So they made that album, they struggled a lot, man. And they continue to struggle. There was one of these albums. I'm just trying to throw this out there real quick.
You're good.
One of these
I
albums.
don't have facts. You go. You know more. I want to hear what you know.
She's not facts girl today.
I'm not facts girl. This is a nice break for me.
I think it's because of the Brave, the one, they actually got in trouble for ripping off guitar riffs. I think in the beginning, it was 2 songs. A YouTuber came forward and said, hey, Sign of the Times, one of your top tracks, is my riff. And it turns out there was 2 more, not just the original 2, but there were 2 more. And if you go, we went and looked them up, like whenever this was first all coming out, we went and looked them up, and dude, they sound pretty identical, like even the drums.
Yeah.
Chris claimed he purchased 2 of the songs from one of the YouTubers. There was some big deal going on there. I don't know exactly how that unfolded, but he fired the guitarist, and that's all I really know about that.
Yeah, and it was after the fact. The dude did admit to actually stealing the work and having paid for one of the tracks, and then Voles went back trying to make it right and give the guy what he was owed, because he just writes lyrics on top of whatever the band produces.
Exactly.
And the rest of the band didn't know what was going on.
Yes. My original thing for bringing that up, or the first part of that up, was because I feel like Venting would have been a FLAW album had it not been for the members changing so much. Yeah. This was like a new band, and I feel like he tried with FLAW for so long with all these different members, I think the original members were only on the first 2 albums. I believe they left after that. Then it just revolved, man. It was like an open door, 30 members. So I feel like he thought maybe start fresh with a new name and release this album. Obviously, he went back to FLAW, and I think the drummer, Ivan, I believe, went with him. But that only lasted for a short time. They never recorded anything.
And this was quite a bit like a FLAW album.
Yes.
So not knocking it. This was my middle pick.
This was my runner-up.
This was also my runner-up.
I gave this 7 5s.
I gave it 1 5.
I gave it 8.
My top track was Breathing.
My top track was Life of Mine.
My top track was The Gift.
Bottom track was Broken Compass.
My bottom track was Pathetic.
it would be hard for me to choose a bottom on this album. Honestly, it's very hard. But
Is it?
if I have to go with a bottom, I will just go ahead and throw Broken Compass out there. As much as I love that song and that chorus, dude, that chorus is amazing.
Yep.
But it was a bit different and a bit weird. So
I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I do really remember there's something there that's weird. But
yeah, it's the verses. There's I don't know what you'd call it. Not really jazz. There's a lot of walking bass, like that doo 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 doo. You know, that like weird. A lot of walking bass on there. Obviously, they had a good bass player.
Yeah,
I mean,
moving on to the questionnaire. I'm at the same place with you guys. Broken Compass was my weirdest track.
well, I was gonna say about Venting that the instrumental spacing was better on the Venting album than it was on the FLAW albums. Sometimes they've got and better is relative. If you like a little more space, like where you can hear the instruments a little more clearly individually, things have a little more room to breathe, you're going to like Venting probably more than most of the FLAW albums. Anyway, weirdest track for me was Persistence. There were odd effects in the chorus. Otherwise, it was a great song.
weirdest for me was Lest We Forget. So there that is again.
Yeah.
I'm finding that our opinions are pretty similar.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know a lot of what I'm talking about, but apparently it's not all bad because the pro over here, I'm getting pretty close to what he's saying.
No, and a lot of the opinions that are given here, they don't represent a spectrum. They represent the extremes. What came out on top, what went to the bottom. We don't really talk about how much good was in between. And, you know, that can make it seem like we have all of these bands on the same level. And I don't think that's true anyway.
So are you agreeing with me? Disagreeing with me?
About what?
I don't know. Moving on. Best title.
Best title for me was My Letter.
Payback.
Conquer This Climb.
You are stuck on that song.
I just liked it.
From the Bottom album?
I can like things on the Bottom album. Shane.
Was that the Bottom album, or was that
I don't remember her.
was that
Bottom
Divided We
album.
Fall? I think it's
that
because
was my
of the
top
Brave.
track on my second to last.
I knew it was your
album.
top track.
Okay.
That's why I said you're stuck on that
Yeah.
song. I just didn't know if it was your bottom album.
No, second to last.
Worst title.
Pathetic.
What would you have used instead?
Brain seepage.
Wow.
I don't even want you to define why.
I'm not.
Worst title for me was Bleed Red. I would have simply called the song Red. I mean, I know there's a lot of reds out there, you know, the red, seeing red, and this and that. But it just Bleed Red just sounds weird. It sounds, I don't know, man. It's
I know what you're saying.
It's too much,
Yeah.
I think.
Mine was Prayer for the Lost. I would have called it Well-Meaning Indoctrination.
You own a dictionary, do you know?
I just have a pretty solid vocabulary. I don't know what you want from me.
I thought that was a pretty cool title for me. For me,
Yeah.
I'm just saying for me.
Yeah, and
not
it's
knocking
not-
your opinion.
It's not, again, that's why I said well-meaning. I don't think it's a reflection of, you know.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't ask for it, the reason why I named it brain seepage is literally they say seep into your brain in the song.
Well, I would like to throw that out there. I do think it's cool whenever, I mean, they do say pathetic in the song, but I like titles that, like, you know, I guess a lot of people think, or a lot of people, and a lot of bands do it, they think that the title has to match what they say in the song.
I find that boring
And
a lot.
I think that's what I liked about, what was it? Is it Smashing Pumpkins? They do that a lot, right? They have like these weird titles, but they never say it in the song. Do I have the wrong band?
No, I think you're right.
Are we kind of
I'm not thinking too clearly. So.
Okay.
I know, I
don't
think
know.
you're right.
I'm
A lot more bands. We talked about that with Lana Del Rey. She has a lot of creative titles that she doesn't necessarily say in the song.
yeah, I just think that's pretty cool.
I like where it shows up, just not the main focus of the chorus.
Right.
I don't know. I like it to be there because I like to win at the music guessing game, so
Yeah.
it makes it harder for me if I can't name the song. What did you think FLAW's strongest element was?
Their vocals.
Lyrics.
Vocal style is what I said. Weakest element?
Some songs too similar. And I think that might be the guitar in it. Some of their songs were just a little bit too compared to me.
The only thing I would have for their weakest element is they can't seem to keep a band together.
It's pretty weak.
My focus for this question was all about Because of the Brave. The U.S. military lyricism on that album. Again, I liked a lot of it. Some of it did just not land for me. And I'm sure that it does really well with members of the military.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really hard for me to relate to it. So that was my weakest element. What does FLAW sound like to everybody?
Okay, don't kill me. I always pick bands that I think they would compare to. And when listening to FLAW, I would compare them to Shinedown, Disturbed, and Godsmack.
Well, me personally, I didn't put anything because the guest that you've had on more than once, which is your father,
Yes.
he cracks me up. And listening to him do these things, like, I feel like we agree a lot on music.
Yeah.
And I have that same kind of, and I'm not going to speak for him, obviously, but
You can, I don't care.
I noticed that he said, in one of the podcasts that this band sounds like this band and this band sounds like that band. That's kind of where I fall. Like, I mean, I get there are certain aspects of certain bands that do remind you of something, maybe a certain song or something.
Yep.
But I went with nothing because to me, it sounds like FLAW. Like, I can point FLAW out anywhere. If it's a FLAW song, I got it.
Yep.
See,
So-
and one of the main reasons why I usually choose a band or bands for the listener to be like, because if people are into Shinedown or Disturbed, Godsmack, and they think that they might enjoy FLAW, I'm trying to draw people from that crowd to this crowd to give them something.
Yeah, and I think mostly we know that. And as an example, when you introduced me to King 810, your selling point before we even started was this is going to remind you of Korn a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I mean by certain aspects.
Some
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Will do that. But for me personally, what I'm saying is, like,
This group.
if you throw me FLAW, and I don't want to say they have to sound the exact same for me to say that. Like, King 810 sounds a lot like if you just put an instrumental together.
Yeah.
And it was just Korn instrumental and King 810 instrumental. I think you could sell that off as a Korn album.
Right.
However, I feel like if you tried to do that with FLAW and Disturbed, I'd be like, no, this is FLAW and this is Disturbed.
Yep. Agreed.
I'm not knocking what you
No,
said.
I don't think it was a
Just
knock at all.
For me, I'm saying me personally, this being like one of my favorite top bands, I think I could point their sound out apart. If it was just I had to choose, I would have thrown out possibly Korn
Mm-hmm.
because of their guitars at times.
Mm-hmm.
They play the 7 strings, they're heavy,
Yeah.
but it again, like, it doesn't sound a lot like Korn. You know what I'm saying? So it's all an opinion.
I get that.
To bounce off of what Joseph's already saying here, I struggled. The only things I could come up with are that the bass, the sound of the bass sometimes sounded similar to Tool's bass, just the bass and the sound of it.
I get that.
Some of the later mixing, there was a track or two that made me think this kind of sounds like Seven Dust. Something about the later albums, but that's all I could come up with.
Yeah, I can get that too.
When would everyone listen to FLAW, and how does the music make you feel?
Playing video games. It takes me back to being younger and playing Tony Hawk's Underground, and I would listen to a lot of music that I would compare to FLAW at this time. So I would probably listen to it playing like skateboarding video games.
Is that why you had so few fives? Because you were playing Minecraft while you listened to FLAW?
I was not playing Minecraft. Did you see my play?
We've been seeing you on Minecraft.
We had
yes.
Gage come stay the night one week. One night, I promise. It was not me.
I think, again, real quick, so what I put is anytime you're going through a rough time. So like for her, that's what I was getting at, is like, from what I've heard her say, she's not big on lyrics, right? Like, you like vocals, you like, guitar, you listen to all that stuff, but you don't really
that's all
dissect lyrics,
that's a
right?
second for me. If I can enjoy the way a song sounds and the melody of a song or the vocals of a song, I will go and pay attention to the lyrics after. I'm never one to pay attention to the lyrics first.
Okay. See, for me, obviously, I always said there's strongest element, lyrics. So FLAW, I've been listening to since I was like 14. I've listened to them through some of my hardest times.
Same.
Payback was how I felt about pretty much everyone around me at one time, and I was a pretty hated kid. And I get it. I won't go too deep into that. I get it. And that's just kind of how I felt, is that, my mom lived in California and I was coming to Texas and I didn't really have anybody here. And when I got kicked out of where I was staying, and I was 15, I was basically homeless for a while, and you were with someone who didn't want us staying there. So when you tried to help us out, we just ended up sleeping in your place. I felt like everyone around me was just watching me drown. And it's like, that was like my go-to, is like, it sounds crazy, but it's like, I felt like I don't want to, like, you're all watching me drown and I'm not going by myself. Like, all you guys are supposed to be my friends, So it was like, and like I said, I get why we went through that whole period, which I don't want to talk about, but, so anyway, so FLAW was like a real, like,
it takes you back there.
Like, whenever, Devin was born, Best I Am.
Yeah.
That was my song that reminded me, of him. That's what I used to listen to, when I knew that he was coming. Like, obviously I wanted to do the best I could for him at the age I was, and so it was,
FLAW also
just a big
grew
thing.
with you.
Yes.
Like, you grew with FLAW, and so all these different highs and lows that you had growing up throughout your life, like you said, you're associating them with the good and bad moments.
So some interesting aside here, and I want to go back to lyrics in a minute, but I want to talk about one bourbon, one scotch, one beer. That part where he goes to the friend and they won't let him stay there.
Yeah.
And the friend says, yeah, she's funny. And he's like, yeah, now you funny too.
You're funny too.
Every time I think about that point in our lives, and it wasn't a few weeks later when I had the apartment, and I mean, you guys stayed there all you needed to, I felt like.
Yes.
Like, I don't think we ever turned you away, so...
No, once you got your own... That's why I pointed a certain someone.
I get it, dude.
Yeah. It was... And I, like I said, totally understand it. I'm not like, oh, somebody should have took me in. Somebody should have took that responsibility, because it's on me. It's just, I was a child. Well, looking back now, I was a child. Then, in my mind, I was an adult, because I think that's how a lot of 15-year-olds feel. But I understand where everything fell apart and everything was crazy, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I just threw that out there. I'm not saying that's how I feel about people or anything like that.
I get it completely.
I just was saying that's the stuff, like, Whole, like, all those songs, man, like, there was so much feeling for me. Like, even nowadays, like, if I'm going through a rough time, like, Only the Strong Survive, like, things like that. My letter speaks for, like, my past, the person I was. Like, I hope that, I didn't hurt anyone too much or do certain things, and, like, I hope that they're doing fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, he wrote that for, my letter was actually to, he said, his past relationships, like exes, stuff like that. Like, he wishes them well, and maybe if he had gave it, more of a chance, or had been better as a person at the time, but in the song, when he's saying, like, he's not ready to face his past yet, basically. He's saying those problems stem from his past.
Yeah.
And he's not ready to travel that road yet. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just kind of how it was.
What we're getting at is, it's real, and it helps in those hard times to know that somebody else has gone through it, they've come through it, and it helps you move forward. That's definitely how I felt listening to it at the time.
Yes.
With regard to lyrics, before we move on, this has come up a few times. I hope people don't think that I'm someone who listens to the lyrics real hardcore and just dismisses. If I'm like you, somewhat. If I can get through a song without thinking about the lyrics, if something doesn't stand out to me as like, what? Then I'm good with it.
Yeah.
It could be, paper thin, just as long as it's not like, oh God, that was way too corny. Even then, sometimes, I mean, I listen to William Hung for fun,
I'm going to say one thing. Right. I drive your truck. Still getting shit about that.
I still don't know how to approach that, because there are some lyrics that are questionable there, but at the same time, that's a great song.
I know.
I'm sorry.
You just can keep... I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah, when I first heard that, I was like, what? No way. And was blown away, because I knew the story of the song. Whenever it first came out, Katie liked it, and she was showing me, and I listened to it, and I immediately, I'm a dissector, man. I will dissect a song or anything, a band to the bottom. Like, I will figure it out. So I'm a researcher. So I jump online, see if I can figure out what the song's about, everything, and obviously, it's about this couple's son who was in the military, and he ended up getting killed. They kept his truck. They were asked how they get through the hard times, and his dad said, I drive his truck. And so they were actually there, as far as my knowledge, they were actually there when the song was being written. They helped, tell their story, all that. So I think that's where that comes from, is, like I said, if you don't really get into the lyrics or know exactly, what it's about, it doesn't always touch that for you or do that for you. So I think since we knew, everybody was like, what is she talking about? That's like the greatest song.
See, and I even went back and listened to it, and I freely admitted, I'm like, yeah, this is a freaking sad song. And I think the more that I listen to it, the more I'm going to appreciate it for what it is.
Okay. I love that you keep bringing it up. It's like you're purposely kicking yourself in the face.
I know. When I get too high and mighty, I just mention that.
My answer for when I would listen or how it makes me feel was when I want to hear something powerful and it makes me feel like I'm relieving stress. Okay. I kept it somewhat basic there.
Yeah, I mean, it's still like, it's still feeling like.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the, like I said, that's what is their strongest to me, man. They have a song. I feel like a lot of their albums, man, I could go through and dissect and tell my life with some of the things he says.
Just let me put them in different order.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man.
You know what? Thinking about my answer about the playing video games, maybe a better answer for FLAW would be when I feel like I need to escape. Because when I was younger and I used to play those types of video games, I wouldn't think about shit. I'd turn on music and turn on a game and just be. So maybe that's a better answer rather than just, playing video games. Maybe I just want to get out of my own head for a little bit.
I mean, it's not a bad answer. Anyway, what was everyone's first or best experience with this artist?
I just said this week. It's first and technically best because I haven't had prior experience other than seeing the album cover growing up and knowing that you were always into FLAW.
All right. Yes, I already told this story, so I'm just going to simply say Trees, Dallas.
All right.
Nice.
I didn't know that was that'd be your best?
Yes, that's my best.
I was like, certainly not the first.
No, not first.
Weren't we there? Didn't we pass you that night in downtown Dallas? I wanted to say y'all were going to Trees. We were going somewhere else. It must have been House of Blues because they're right there, right?
Yes, it could have been that, but there was a time, man, we were deep elming.
Yeah, y'all were there a lot.
Seeing different bands. Like, we saw Black Label there, which was with Seven Dust and Dope and all those bands. There was a period of time, man, where we were just concert. We would drive by a concert, dude, and hear it and be like, we're going. Dude, that's how we went to, we saw Slipknot and Disturbed and, man, what was it called? It wasn't like Edge Fest or something. It was Mayhem Tour. It was Mayhem. We heard it from the highway, and I was like, let's go.
Concert
hoppers. We went in, yes.
Speaking of doing random stops and driving around, did you or did you not go with Al to a White Castle?
Yes, we did.
Where was it?
Farmington, Missouri.
How far away would you say that is from where we are?
It took us, I want to say, like 7.5, 8 hours.
You
to maybe 10.
And Kumar to White Castle all the way in Missouri?
Yes.
And when you were done, did you find out there was one closer to you?
Yes, on the way back, there was one 3 hours closer. But that is not okay, so we called up
3 hours closer.
The 1-800-U-CRAVE, which is a real number. Well, it was at that time anyway. We went and seen Escape from Guantanamo Bay. It was late. It was like one of the last showings. We get out. It's about 11:30 midnight. We didn't know that Mother's Day was the next day. So we got the idea, man. We was like, look, we'll go Harold and Kumar this real quick. It'll be hilarious. I was like, call, bro. See if there's one nearby. So I called. I was like, man, there's one in Farmington. The lady will actually tell you how long, she'll ask you where you're at. She'll tell you how long it's going to take you to get there, which she didn't know about that either because she gave me the wrong time. It's supposed to be like 5 hours. Anyway, so we start making this trip, dude, and it was great. I went and told my mom, because we were both living with my mom at the time. Knocked on our door. She opens the door all sleepy. She's like, what? I was like, hey, we're going to Missouri. She's like, what? I was like, we're going to Missouri. We're going to get White Castle. She was like, okay, Joseph. And just shut the door. Bam, we're out the door, man. We get in the truck. We're driving. We're taking turns driving there. My mom calls the next day at about 11:30, noonish. And she's like, where are you at? And I was like, we're in Missouri. I told you we were going to Missouri. And she's like, what are you doing? And I said, I told you we were getting White Castle. She's like, it's Mother's Day. And I was like, oh, okay. And Al was like, tell her we'll bring her White Castle. And I was like, hey, we're bringing you back White Castle. Dude, and the people there thought we were insane because we were taking pictures of each other. And we had like this big tray of burgers, dude. I think he ordered like 35 burgers. And we had all these fries. A bunch of fries. They were like, and we were taking pictures. And some lady was staring at us. And I was like, we're from Texas. And she's like, oh, what are y'all doing around here? And I was like, we came for White Castle. And she goes, it's good, but it's not that great. And the wind was biting in Missouri, man. Like, we got out and I was like, oh, I messed up. I should have brought a hoodie or a jacket. But, dude, we made these rules. We weren't eating the whole way there. Like, we couldn't have any food. Nothing. Like, we couldn't do anything.
Brutal.
So we did it up,
once
man.
In a lifetime thing,
I think I didn't pay for anything the whole way. I think Al said that was a $900 trip, if I'm right, with gas and food and everything.
That sounds about right, if I'm remembering correctly.
But dude, it was hilarious.
What I needed to know is, was it that good?
It was very delicious. But we got upset when we realized there was one much closer. And, it turns out they sell White Castle burgers, like, in the frozen food section.
Yeah.
But I haven't had them, but I'm just telling myself they're not the same.
I don't think it would be the same.
I've had them, and I don't think it's the same. I've never been to a White Castle, but I can't imagine it coming off of a fast food line and tasting like that.
Yeah. Dude, that was a great trip, though. Like, it was awesome.
My first experience with FLAW was my answer, and that was just Joseph showing the song "Wait for Me" to me, because he, I think, knew that would be a good entry point for me at the time, and it definitely was. Caught my attention. Who would you want FLAW to collaborate with? What song would you want FLAW to cover?
I said I would like them to collaborate with Drowning Pool, and I want them to cover "Stricken" by Disturbed.
Okay. I went with Evanescence. I think Chris Foles and Amy Lee would be awesome.
That could be a good combo.
And my cover is a bit weird, but in my mind it sounds really cool. If they did it together, like, and I was thinking piano type. Right. But it's Tuesday's Gone, Leonard Skinner.
I could get behind that.
I don't think that's weird at all.
No, that'd be nice. I said Flyleaf.
That's a good
another
one.
female vocalist.
Yeah, with serious power. I would want FLAW to cover Greed by Godsmack because I think FLAW could do better than Godsmack did.
Yes.
I don't know. What makes this artist seem unique?
Their ability to expand sounds with their consistently changing lineup.
Mine would be vocals and drums. I think, dude, if you really listen to, obviously, you can hear the vocals. He's awesome. But if you really listen to the drums, and that's not to take away anything from the bass, because Ryan was an awesome bassist when he was there. But the drums, man, to a lot of their songs are killer. He has a way different playing style. It's almost like a marching band type playing style. Like, that's what I feel like he started in. He was either like jazz or marching band type. He's just, dude, his drumming style is insane.
And you're a drummer, so you would know. And I do have a note down here that says drumming here is very underrated.
Yes.
So I think that's the case. My answer was the vocal transitions. I think the reason you could probably pick this artist out of a giant lineup of alt metal bands is because there is some really surreal, pretty singing going on atop this super talented metal style that Voles has. Those transitions are just highly unique to this group in my experience. How could this artist be most successful in the future?
I actually enjoyed his expanding with side projects in between the breaks of the FLAW lineup that's consistently changing. I would either say keep expanding with side projects, or not that it's ever going to happen, but I also enjoyed the original lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So
That was mine. Get the originals back and get back to work on another Through the Eyes album.
Yeah. Well,
That would be awesome.
I think the music is still really good.
It is. I mean,
But if they were going for most successful, I would recommend, after listening to Venting, the Five.Bolt.Main album, I would say let the wall of guitar noise breathe just a little bit, and obviously limit the Army themes.
yes. Yeah.
We sound like we're anti.
No.
That's not the case.
Yes.
Not the case at all.
It's just okay. My opinion is I'm not a very political person. Like, I don't want fighting politics all the time, fighting these battles like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to sit down and listen to nothing but political music.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where it falls I think we're all on the same page with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we don't appreciate the Army. It's not that we don't appreciate, certain things or, this and that. It's just, there's no relation.
Yeah.
Like, as far as I related to the first albums, as I was talking about, I don't relate to the later albums because I haven't been in the Army. I'm not that political. I don't have political signs all over my house or in the front yard.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I think if you are that way, you shouldn't be that way. It just means that's not the way I am, so I don't relate.
Yep. That's where we all land from what it sounds like. It's just not for us.
I use music for enjoyment and usually try to take away from all that. It's constantly in my face all the time for the little bit of time that I can control. So I like to take a break from the pains and hardships that I usually have to hear.
The real world.
Yeah.
Who would you recommend this artist to and why?
Anyone looking to expand on more metal artists, this is definitely a good band to throw into your repertoire that a lot of people aren't, like, they're not super mainstream, but they definitely deserve an acknowledgement when thinking of this genre.
My answer was simple. Everyone, because they're good.
It's a good answer. I said people who think rock is nothing but shouting, because this will prove otherwise. Do we have any optional discussion topics?
I mean, I could throw some things out there that I've got in mind, if that's cool.
All right.
Okay.
Well, let's go through ours, and that way, if there's anything left, we can get to it.
Yeah, no, that's good.
I don't have any. I left it open to you guys.
Rayburn's got nothing.
Nothing.
I wanted to bring up that the lead singer, Chris Voles, has a solo album. I haven't listened to it yet. I wanted to ask you about concert performances. You kind of already talked a little bit about it.
Mm-hmm.
You'd say they're worthwhile live? Like,
Oh, yes.
Look into them?
They are awesome live.
And you said you've seen them 5 times?
Yes. The only show I didn't like was we saw them at Firewater. And he got into a fight with the sound guy. Chris did. And they shut off his microphone. So he freaked out. But he told the sound guy once he turned it back on, he said, if you shut my mic down again, I will have the whole crowd come back there and kick the shit out of you. And let's just say he never turned off the mic again.
Nice. Very nice.
So, I mean, there was that. That was like the worst show only because the sound quality and they had some kind of, the sound wasn't right and Chris was getting upset about it. So he was like talking about the sound guy.
Yeah.
So when he got mad, he shut down his microphone and then it became this battle like the rest of the night kind of. So it was like.
Took away from the experience a little bit.
Yes, the show wasn't that great.
I get it, though.
That.
You don't want people thinking that you suck live just because the sound guy can't get his shit together back there.
Yeah.
But I do think they're amazing live.
What else do you got?
The only thing I had was Jason, the guitarist, one of the guitarists. He left the band to go to law school and became a lawyer. So then he took a break from being a lawyer to come back to the band. At one time, they got the original lineup back together, but that didn't last long. They went back. Obviously, Chris was adopted by his mother when he was 1. She was an opera singer, so that's where a lot of his vocals came from. She committed suicide when he was 12 years old, and that's what The Gift is about, Hole is about, possibly a few other songs. I'm sure a lot has to do with that.
And he actually thought that was his birth mother, right? For a long time.
I didn't ever hear anything about that.
Okay.
I can't really fully say 100%.
That's cool.
I thought they were both his adoptive parents, but I recently went back and did some more research because I knew I'd be here. And I believe that was his dad.
Okay.
I believe that was his real believe. I don't know that to be 100% fact, but from everything I understand, he was only adopted by his mother, was what he says whenever he was 1. Well, he has a dad, so that would only seem like maybe it was his dad's wife. His mother left him, and she took on that responsibility when she was 1.
Gotcha.
But that's the reason he took up singing and everything, was because he was obviously really, really close to his adoptive mother. And if you ever watch the music video for The Gift, it is that way. It's a child. She's putting him to bed, and she lays a note next to the bed. Then she goes in the bathroom and downs a bunch of pills.
Mm-hmm.
He gets up out of bed and goes and finds her. Again, this is a child who was 12 years old, so I think that's where a lot of his issues come from.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of feelings in that band, I think, as far as he goes. That's really all I had. I just thought it was really interesting that you leave a metal band to become a lawyer whenever you were wearing makeup on stage, and then suddenly you're representing someone in court.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, though.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat.
I'm just picturing him showing up to court in like full metal makeup with like a suit and tie.
All right, well, let's go ahead and take our break, shall we? Raven, what do you have for us?
Well, I ain't got no plugs, but my song suggestion of the week this week is going to be 911 by Wyclef Jean featuring Mary J. Blige. I listened to this song a lot growing up, forgot about it, and listened to it again this past week, and forgot how good of a song it is. So just want to share that to the world.
Listen to that whole album. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you got this week?
My recommendation for the week is a song called We Are the World by USA for Africa.
Okay. I don't know this song.
You don't?
No.
How do you not know this song?
That was it. I was being sarcastic, Shane.
I assumed as much.
Okay. Just making sure we're on the same page.
I know it's kind of a meme now, but I still really appreciate this song for what it represents. A lot of musicians coming together to try improving the lives of other humans in need. We need more of that these days, and I figured a reminder couldn't hurt. It's got I think the song was written by Michael Jackson, and there's a
Quincy
video.
Jones produced it.
Yep.
There's a video.
There is a video, and it's everything you hope for. I'll put it on mentions as well.
Prince was asked to be in We Are the World. He declined because he didn't like the song, and then he ended up doing his own song. I think it was something like AIDS of Africa, something like that.
I don't know the Prince one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There you go.
My plug for the week is a movie called The Peanut Butter Falcon, which you can watch on Hulu right now.
I haven't watched it yet.
That's an awesome movie.
Yeah.
Amazing movie, really.
Yeah. One of the best movies I've seen in a long time.
Me
so
as well, yes.
Don't sit on the fence. Just go watch this film. Don't care who you are. Just go watch this film.
Since you're going to recommend Peanut Butter Falcon, which I have not seen yet, I recommend Honey Boy, which is about Shia LaBeouf's life growing up. It's available on Amazon Prime. It made me cry.
Can I also go ahead and say while we're in the break that I have a bone to pick eventually with our friend Austin once he comes on the show? Because motherfucker posted, he got on Prime the other night and started posting stories to his Facebook showing like shark movies, like horror films, like how far deep does this rabbit hole goes. He found one called Carousel.
Okay.
It's got like a fucking carousel unicorn on the front, and it's a horror flick. And I'm me. I can't help myself. I went and fucking watched it. It's horrible, but it's funny.
Okay.
And I rated that much higher than I thought it would because it did make me laugh quite a bit. But goddamn it, dude, stop doing that to me because I have to go watch the shit. I can't stop myself. Anyway, let's get on to our next artist.
All right.
All right.
All right. The next artist we covered was Heart. The first album that we covered by them.
Recommended by your mama.
Recommended by my mom. Sorry, forgot to say that. Forgot who did it.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to think that she doesn't suggest anything but Cher. Still waiting on that to pop up.
Not the case.
Not the case. First album that we covered was Dreamboat Annie from 1975. This was my top album.
This was my runner-up.
This was also my runner-up.
I gave it 4 5s.
7.
3.
My top track was Magic Man.
Love Me Like Music. I'll Be Your Song.
I knew that was going to be your top.
Same top track?
I knew that was going to be your top.
Yeah, mine is also Love Me Like Music.
Bottom track, Sing Child.
That's probably your mom calling me right now because she knows what's about to come out of my mouth.
Yeah?
Bottom track, Dreamboat Annie. Take your pick. The iterations of this track pissed me off so bad. It's got a great sound, would have been a great song. Make it one track, repeat the chorus.
Yep.
None of the versions do they repeat the chorus more than once.
I agree. There were 3 versions of Dreamboat Annie on this album. I enjoyed one of them. I don't know why they needed 3.
Yeah, I had the same bottom issue.
Okay,
We
okay.
basically fully agreed on this album. It's funny because that's what I did. Like, I don't know Heart. Like, I don't really know Heart, obviously. So when I was listening to it, I was like, okay, listening to this one, it's Dreamboat Annie, obviously. I get a little ways into the album, and I'm like,
Didn't
what's
I already hear
one?
this song?
And I look, and I'm like, it's Dreamboat Annie reprise or whatever.
Fantasy
and it's like,
Child.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you get to the last one, and that's a Dreamboat Annie reprise, right?
Yes.
And I was like, they put this song on the album
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah.
So
And
I was like,
It slightly sounds different a little each time, but it not different enough.
yes. And if you really dissect the fact that I believe that album had 10 tracks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So really, they broke it down for me to 7.
Yep.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, that's just my opinion. But
No.
I think you only really get 7 tracks out of it. Well, I guess you could say 8 because Dreamboat Annie could be
Dreamboat
one.
Annie.
If they had made that just a track of its own and repeated the chorus more than once throughout, I think it would have gotten a 5, and this would have been a perfect album for me. But
Yeah.
it upset me.
Yeah.
Let's keep moving along.
Next album that we covered was Little Queen from 1977. This fell in the middle for me.
Next to last.
That would be, well, a tie for bottom.
Okay.
Okay.
It got 1-5 for me.
I gave it 2.
I gave it 4.
I gave quite a bit of 4s on this album. My top track was Kick It Out.
Still Barracuda.
My top track was Cry to Me.
Would have been Barracuda, but I enjoy Barracuda. I just think it's overplayed.
Okay.
I get bored of it.
I get you.
My bottom track was Sylvan's Song.
Go On, Cry.
It was a close race with Sylvan's Song, but I'm going to go on my bottom would be Barracuda. That song used to, when I think
Heard
it was
it
on,
too much?
it was on one of the Fast and Furious movies, right?
Yes.
Was it on Tokyo Drift? think it might
Yeah,
have
they
been
had
Tokyo
those
Drift.
Japanese girls. They redid it.
And it's like Barracuda.
Yes, yes.
That used to crack me up so
Barracuda.
hard.
That's all you can hear now?
Yeah.
Yes, so like when I hear that song,
It's like this really peppy upbeat. So it doesn't have that
Yeah.
guitar in it.
I mean,
like it
it's a
did.
good song. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's a bad song. It's just that is stuck in my head. I
feel you.
It's just the way I hear it.
I feel you. Next album.
Was Dog and Butterfly from 1978. This was my runner-up.
This was in the middle.
This was tied for last with Little Queen.
My top track was, I'm sorry, I gave it 2 5s.
5 5s.
1-5.
My top track was Dog and Butterfly.
Mine was Lighter Touch.
Mine was Mistral Wind.
I could not, with that song title, all I could think about was like menstruation. I know it's minstrel, but every time I saw it, it made me think of menstruation.
Well, it's Mistral. That's what's
Yeah.
weird about it. Is it's
Oh,
not.
Mistral.
It's
Yeah,
not
it's
minstrel.
Oh.
It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know the meaning.
Yeah.
But
Same.
that was a really good song. I mean, the guitar work.
hmm
I believe that's the one. The guitar was
and
like
it goes
amazing.
places too.
Yeah. So that's
My bottom track was Cook with Fire.
Hijinks.
yes. My bottom track was Cook with Fire.
I gave that song a 5.
Very weird. The guitar work, dude. The band was amazing. It's just that was a weird, like it's just
I get
weird
you.
for me.
I get you.
Next album we covered was Bad Animals from 1987. This was my second to last.
This was my top album.
I am not surprised at all.
This would be Second to the last, yeah.
I gave it 1.5.
I gave it 8.
2 5s.
My top track was Alone.
Bad Animals.
Mine was tied for Alone and Bad Animals. I'm going to go with Alone, though, I think.
It's a jam. My bottom track is I Want You So Bad.
Same. Too repetitious.
Mm-hmm.
And I am the same.
All right.
This album was far simpler than the previous albums, but highly enjoyable 80s synth balladry. They moved away from Nancy's guitar work, focused on the synth, and it was very, very 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask, before we got to our final pick, did you go with Beautiful Broken because you couldn't get the self-titled album on Spotify?
I went with Beautiful Broken because I heard them perform this album live. They had just released Beautiful Broken in 2016, which I went to see them and Joan Jett live with my parents at Dos Equis Pavilion. And I had not heard Beautiful Broken. I didn't even know The Heart was making new music, and this is when they debuted some of those tracks. So that's the reason why I picked it. I kind of regret not picking an album from the 90s because I completely skipped it, but for a later date.
Okay.
If you haven't caught on, next album is Beautiful Broken from 2016. This was my bottom album.
Same.
This was my top album.
That's refreshing. Like
Interesting.
that. Nice. I gave it 1.5.
I gave it 4 5s.
I give it 0.
My top track was 2.
I Jump.
I'm going to also go with 2.
I really like that song. My bottom track was I Jump.
Both of the top tracks that everyone picked, those were the originals from the album, not re-recordings of past songs, right? 2 and I Jump were both...
Originals?
I think so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I know 2 was for sure.
So I Jump was your bottom?
I Jump was my bottom.
One Word was my bottom.
Okay, I'm going to say I don't have a bottom because I didn't put one.
That's cool.
Okay.
And I can't remember the titles on there.
That's all
So,
good,
like
man.
I said, I'm new to Heart, man. So I was trying to go through and write down as much as I could about it. And, I just don't. I know that album really surprised me. You can hear the band evolve.
Yeah.
Basically. You can hear the sound change. And I think that's why that was a top album for me, because they got away from synth. And I think that's what was killing it a lot for me in the beginning, was, like I said, that Heart type synth sound.
Folk.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
And a little bit of backstory just to tie off of what Joseph said as far as like the growth of the band. When they started out, okay, Ann Wilson. No. Yeah, their last name's Wilson, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Ann and Nancy Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson, just making sure. Ann joined the band.
Yeah, this was a band that existed before they came along.
Yes. Ann joined Heart, which incidentally...
Kind of like Fleetwood.
Yeah, Ann was given a guitar. Nancy took it up. She was obsessed with it as a kid. And Ann joined the band Heart. Nancy was in school. She toured with Heart. She brought Nancy in because they would perform a lot growing up. And you want to talk about like a drama-filled... You thought Fleetwood was difficult? They're up there. The guitarist's brother, who later became their producer, is the one and only person that Ann has ever been in a serious relationship with. It lasted 10 years. They broke up. Nancy, when she joined the band, dated the guitarist. So you have 2 sisters dating 2 brothers.
Who's the one your dad wants to bang so bad?
Ann,
Okay.
the lead singer.
I figured, I just couldn't remember.
Yeah, no, it's Ann, which I found out
Bang, 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 bang.
she struggled a lot growing up with her weight and then later on. So it's been like a constant struggle.
What is it, Joseph? I ain't pussy whipped?
Whips pussy.
So, so you have 2 brothers dating 2 sisters. Guess what? It doesn't work out. A lot of drama-filled stuff. The guitarist leaves they basically vote him out of the band right before the Bad Animals album. And it was just like...
Well, at least they had a democratic process.
Yeah. Well, he did chunk a guitar at Nancy.
This band is becoming too political, Rayburn. I don't know that we continue down this path. The main track on Beautiful Broken, the first track, featured James Hetfield of Metallica.
I was wondering who the male vocalist was.
It's the lead singer-songwriter of Metallica.
I was going to look it up, and then I never did. I was wondering, he doesn't sound like James in that. Because never mind, we won't go down that.
I feel you. Did I interrupt your storytelling?
No, I was just giving a little bit of backstory. Magic Man was solely about that guy that she dated.
I had a lot of trouble giving that song a 5, coming right off
I'm
of your
sorry.
story about
I'm
Blue.
very, very sorry.
I did give it a 5, but
I'm sorry, but again, I'm not sorry.
anyway.
After, you know what? You have no right to pick beef with me after last episode in Magic Man.
Why?
But I'm an honest person, Shane.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Gonna tell everybody that I participate
Go ahead,
in
make it part of another episode.
participate in extracurricular activities.
It's getting too political in here.
Anyway, moving on to the questionnaire.
Weirdest track.
Dreamboat Annie reprise. It's not necessary.
Dreamboat Annie. You can pick any one you want. Just get rid of one of them.
All right. Well, I needed to piss some Heart fans off a little more, I think. Not planned, not intentional, but Dog and Butterfly was my weirdest track. It's a 5, but the lyrics of the chorus, they're just bad. I really do not like the lyrics of that chorus, and that is why I was thinking about lyrics. It's because I noticed them.
In that song.
I even played it for Megan just to make sure I wasn't crazy.
Okay.
And she agreed.
Okay. I'm not personally offended. I still enjoy the song, but it might have something to do with my mom enjoying that song a lot. So
I think you just have something against dogs and butterflies.
Maybe.
Do you hate children too, Shane?
I don't know. Like I said, it sounds great. I like a lot of that song, but the chorus, the lyrics, they just pull me completely out of it. Best title.
Dog and Butterfly.
Mine was Beautiful Broken. I think that's an awesome title.
How Deep It Goes.
You perv.
Is no one else catching on? Like, I want to listen to these songs that have these
we're catching
suggestive titles.
We're catching on. It's either like super creative out of the box or like extremely pervish.
Worst title.
Go On Cry. What I would have called it is Sorrow Song. Because you have 2 songs about crying right next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And just change the title of one of them. You can still say what you want to say without putting cry in both titles.
FLAW did that too, by the way, with Worlds Divide. And then they had Decide right after it.
Yeah.
Which the chorus of Worlds Divide is Worlds Divide, Decide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, mine was Cook with Fire. And I would have called it anything else.
Okay.
I mean, they're just cook, just fire.
All right.
Rachel Ray's. I don't know. Whatever.
Scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
Scrambled eggs. My answer was 2, and I would have called it, seriously, the number 2.
Just the number.
Like, seriously, the number 2. Like, you called this song the number 2.
Okay.
It was another one where the chorus lyrics kind of pulled me out. Not anywhere near as much as Dog and Butterfly.
I don't take personal offense.
Strongest element.
Harmonizing vocals and storytelling.
Mine was simply guitar.
Yep. Guitar work. If we're digging deeper, it was seamless shifts from folk to rock. And it's like the vocals of FLAW. You don't get that sort of versatility most of the time. Anyway, weakest element.
Trying too hard in later albums, which I found out later that those kind of 80s albums, they were like forcing them to over-sexualize their bodies and their lyrics. And that's not something that they wanted to do, but they had just signed to a major corporate label.
Okay.
And I don't think that their heart was in it.
All right.
My weakest would have to be the synth.
Okay.
Like, for me, I mean...
You know I'm not upset ever, right?
Obviously.
Like, you don't upset me, Joseph.
Well,
Say
no,
anything you want to,
I
man.
just try to be careful because the thing is like, as a listener, a lot of the times when you're listening to a podcast or like I'm listening to you guys, when you say something, I'm like, but if you really dig down to the facts, obviously, like even in this situation, obviously I know that if we went and searched listens on Spotify or, like we actually compared ticket sales and stuff like this, Heart comes out over FLAW.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's gonna happen. That popularity, Heart would come out
like the
over
general,
FLAW.
the general
Yes,
consensus.
if you're going to the general, I just don't want people to think that I'm like stating these facts of like this is what they are, because I don't know anything about Heart. I just want to, be careful with what I say. It's just
that's the beauty of it, man. This is musical opinion.
I think that listeners are going to greatly appreciate the fact that you took the time to listen to Heart's music and appreciate something for yourself in Heart, that's automatically going to seem like you don't only side with FLAW. You're finding good in both of these artists, and I think that that's something that is very, very positive for you as a guest.
Yeah, that's
so it's a good thing.
That's just a lot of the thing that killed Heart for me, especially their earlier albums. That's why the rating boosts as we go into later albums. They start to fall away from that. I'm not big into the 80s synth and stuff like that.
Okay.
Except for, if it's like Rush or something.
Had to get it in there.
Yes, dude, I love them. They're awesome.
My weakest element was some half-baked songs. Felt like the lyrics were incomplete, or not the lyrics, but that the songs were incomplete. A lot of that is present in Little Queen. They just had just little pieces of songs, and some of the lyrics did feel rushed.
Mm-hmm. Who do you think that they sound like?
A Spring Daydream.
That's pretty good.
That's all I got.
I said different elements sound like a mixture of Floyd at times, Pink Floyd, Fleetwood Mac, Jefferson Airplane, and Pat Benatar.
I did get a Pink Floyd vibe at times, but I didn't write anything because, I explained where I stand on things like that. I couldn't really, a lot of the synth and guitar reminds me of Pink Floyd. So if I picked someone, it would be Pink Floyd, I guess. But
when would you listen to Heart, or how does the music make you feel?
Makes me feel like a sensual flower child.
I said reading by a warm fire. I don't know why I need to say warm.
It's funny, Shane, because we're not far off. I just used the actual term.
I like it.
Trippy. Like, if I was going to do a bunch of acid, that would be a time to listen to Heart.
Okay.
Not disagreeing at all.
What was your first or best experience with this artist?
Hearing These Dreams as a child. This is a song that was actually sung by Nancy, and the writers of the song, we've already talked about previously, I think, that Bernie Taupin was part of this. I didn't know that Martin Page also had a hand in writing this song. That's the person who wrote We Built This City.
Okay.
So you take Elton John's songwriter, mix it with the guy who did Starships, We Built This City, and you get These Dreams.
Nice.
And the reason that Nancy apparently didn't record a lot of vocals for other songs is because she had a cold when they recorded this track, and she couldn't recreate
Get
the
sound
gruffness.
back.
Yeah, and apparently the producers were big on saying, why can't you just get sick again?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Coughing into her mouth and shit, trying to get the sound back. I said always around. Heart was always being played. I can't necessarily specify my first time with Heart. My best time was listed in a past episode about Blue.
So go listen it. She's not going to say it again.
I'm not.
Mine was Barracuda, the soundtrack.
Barracuda!
It was whatever soundtrack is on. I think
It was Tokyo Drift.
I
You're
think
right.
so.
That's funny.
Dude, that was I didn't know that was Heart until I just had to go listen to it. And so I was like, oh, that's Heart. Obviously, I've heard songs like Alone before, but I didn't know that was Heart, obviously. Just because it's not something I seeked out, But
Who would you want them to collaborate with, and what cover would you like them to do?
I said David Gilmour. That's the guitarist of Pink Floyd, for obvious reasons. They would mesh really well. A good song by David Gilmour to listen to hear what I'm talking about, is a song called The Blue. What I would want Heart to cover specifically is a Dr. Hook song called Up on the Mountain.
It always comes back to Dr. Hook.
Yeah.
I listened to him this past week. I won't knock you. I would want them to collaborate with Styx, and the song that I would like them to cover is Telephone Line by Electric Light Orchestra.
I didn't have a cover. I tried Dank. But collaboration artist,
tough, dude.
Freddie Mercury.
That would be cool.
I got a lot of she seems like she would sound really good with Freddie. I mean, and they're not far away from each other. I mean, Queen and
It's
them.
funny that Joseph says this because in one of your books you list your dream band. My two vocalists were Ann Wilson and Freddie Mercury. I shit you not. So
See?
All right.
There you go.
they were my male and female vocalist choice.
It works.
What makes this artist seem unique?
I think the fact that they've had two very successful sound variations. There was the classic rock meets folk sort of sound that they came out with originally. Then moving into the 80s sensual synth sounds, and they were successful in both, highly.
I said their vocals, harmonies, and guitar work.
Mine was just simply guitar. Like I said, I don't know a lot about the band, but that's what would hook me about this band if it was going to. Their guitar riffs are really, really good.
You notice it.
Mm-hmm. How could this artist be most successful in the future?
Sorry, Joseph. I said avoid production values like those on Beautiful Broken. The album sounded like a demo to me, like a highly produced demo, but something about it felt lacking in emotion. Something was wrong there for me. I don't know what it was.
Well, I'm going to apologize to Shane because I said get back to folk inspirations. I loved their early sound.
I like the folk stuff.
But you like their 80s stuff more. You liked Bad Animals.
Yeah, I think Bad Animals and Dreamboat Annie both would have been
oh, yeah, that's right.
Contenders.
That's right. What about you, Joseph?
I didn't put anything because I think they were successful. So, I mean, I don't know how you could have more success than as many albums as they put out.
Yeah.
I mean, I just didn't feel comfortable putting anything.
I feel
okay.
So, and I don't know enough about the band. Like, I don't know, well, I'd like this person to come back or that, like I did with FLAW. I don't know enough about the band.
Yeah.
So I didn't put anything.
I get you, man.
I can agree with that. They've had such a large following and have found success. All they would really need to do is just kind of keep being in order to continue being successful.
I mean, exactly. And like I said, I think they're good at evolving with the way music is changing, but also at the same time keeping it old.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that last album reminded me of, was it's you still get that old school sound or feel, but it's still, you get that updated at the same time. You know what I mean? So I think they're doing really good.
Who would you recommend this artist to and why?
People who don't know just how influential women have been in the evolution of rock.
That's a good, you know what? Fuck my answer. I'm piggybacking off of Shane's.
What was your answer?
Mine was, I thought about changing this before we got in here. I really did. I said any lover of whimsical sounds of the 70s, but the sheer female empowerment, especially two sisters, and you can tell that they're a bonded pair. Like, there's no way that one of them is going to do something without the other. And I think that they work together. You cannot have one without the other. And I wouldn't want to, but I like your answer. It sounds better, Shane. I'm stealing it.
I didn't have an answer because nobody I know would
Listen to
Heart.
That's okay, man.
I guess. I mean, everybody I know that would listen to Heart already listens to Heart.
Mm-hmm.
So
nice. So you don't need to teach them anything.
Yeah, I don't.
I found out this week something surprising, which was that my mom apparently doesn't love Heart. I always thought she was a big fan.
Dreamboat Annie is my song for your mom.
Yeah. And I remember thinking the Susudio experience, when we talked about hearing it in the car and the older people really liked it, and it made me feel like I would be old if I liked it.
Yeah.
That All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You track. And that used to come on the radio. My mom was all about singing that song, and it made me so uncomfortable. But apparently she's not the biggest fan, and I never knew that.
Maybe all she wanted was somebody to make love with her.
Well, as long as I don't have to walk in on it, like a certain somebody's had to do it. So, optional discussion topics? Anything?
At one point, they did do a side project before their Beautiful Broken album. I did not write it down because I literally heard it on the way up here. But Anne and why am I forgetting her name?
Nancy.
Nancy, thank you. Anne and Nancy did do a side band where they were going to start something else, and they weren't going to come back to Heart, but then they changed their mind and they decided to do the Beautiful Broken album, and they did it with the anticipation of it not being very successful, but doing it as just an additional creative outlet. So
cool.
But they did do a side project with a completely different lineup that was not Heart.
I did not know that.
The more you know.
The more you know. Who is your favorite between the sisters? I think Joseph would go with Nancy because of the guitar work, right?
Yes.
I feel like I relate more to Anne, which is not surprising because my mom calls me and my sister Anne and Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, really like Nancy, too.
Yeah. I would have said Nancy, but Anne's abilities are profound.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The self-titled album, Heart, is missing from Spotify, which upset me to a very real degree because I've never sat down to listen to a Heart album in its entirety, but that one contains the majority of my favorite Heart songs. Mm-hmm. Alone and Wait for an Answer were both covers of original versions of songs I've never heard and I still haven't gone
I
to
didn't
listen
know
to.
Alone was a cover.
And Wait for an Answer, there's a track by Blind Guardian called Wait for an Answer. They share nothing in common, but for some reason the chorus sounds the same to me, and I don't know if it's just because they're using the same words, so you can't help it.
Yeah, but compare the two.
Yeah. The sisters wrote almost everything that we listened to, which was interesting to me for a band that was already together when they came along. Fleetwood had the same sort of stuff going on. What were they like live?
They were really good. It's hard to gauge the concert experience because
I thought you'd be geeking.
It was pouring rain. We had to wear ponchos. It was an outdoor venue. We were up on the lawn area, so we literally had to. It was 3 bands: Joan Jett, Heart, and I believe it was REO Speedwagon. And Heart was the headliner. Joan Jett went on before Heart, so it was a while till I got to them. I enjoyed them a lot. They were really, really good. They're not as crazy on stage because they are getting a little bit older. I will say Nancy's awesome live. Anne's vocals are still really good, but she's having to stay in one place and kind of focus all of her energy into her vocals.
So, Joseph, did Heartbeat Flaw this week for you?
Not for me.
Was it close?
It was, no, it was not close.
And Rayburn, did Flaw come close to beating Heart for you this week?
There was a 0.3 difference.
Alrighty.
Heart came out at a 3.5. Flaw came out at a 3.2.
I only counted the 4 Flaw albums.
Oh.
Even if I extrapolate that up to 5, if we're leaving it at 4, Flaw had 32 5s for me. Heart had 24 over 5 albums.
So Flaw came out on top.
Yeah, Flaw won this week for me by every metric. But I will say Heart had fewer songs, and there was an album on our lineup that I just didn't really care for.
I think that's fair. The difference in 5s from both artists, while I enjoy a lot of what Heart has to bring to the table, Flaw had 6 5s. Heart only had 10. So it was still pretty close.
Yeah.
Well, I think this came out pretty much how I expected.
Yeah, same.
I don't, like I said, it's hard to compare 2 totally different bands.
Yes,
like you're comparing 80s to, millennium times. So it's like 70s even.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
And we've talked about this too. It's just for show, right?
Right.
Yeah. We actually, if we were getting to choose, we absolutely wouldn't put Flaw up against Heart. But with it being completely randomized and having the listener participation, suggestion, things like that, that's the reason why we've stuck to this format.
Yeah. And there's definitely been some weeks too where I thought I probably would have picked the other artist if I was just going strictly off of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm just saying this specifically for me.
Yeah.
Like I don't want people to think I think Heart is a terrible band.
No.
Or that Flaw is like way better, because it's just not my style and it's hard to compare the two. So,
I was thoroughly surprised when you started giving numbers and stuff that you felt as good about Heart as you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised too during the later albums because when Heart first started, I was like, sheer hell, dude. This is going to be just terrible for me. All the way to work, all the way from work. Like, I thought it was about to get really, really bad. But during the later albums, I was like, oh. And then, like I said, if you just listen to the guitar work, man, and the drums are actually really good too, but I think the guitar just overrides everything about that band, honestly.
Nancy dated both the guitarist and the drummer. I'm just going to throw that out there. She broke up with the guitarist to be with the drummer.
And that's why there was so much drama in that band.
Yeah, there was a lot. But anyway.
Well, getting back to our questionnaire here for you, Joseph. Let's learn a little more about you while we got you on the show. What's your guilty pleasure artist?
Simple Plan.
Really?
Yes, dude. People make fun of me, but dude, I still listen to Perfect, Addicted. Like, dude,
people make fun of people for that?
Yes. I mean, I get laughed at when I'm throwing on some Perfect by Simple Plan. It's so emo. I get it. But dude, that band was just, I think they were really good.
They were.
I mean, that's a guilty pleasure artist for me.
There is something about it. I noticed it when I listened to Untitled. I used to feel that in my bones.
Yeah.
And I went through a lot of emotional struggle. So,
Yeah.
We've all
but
been
now
there.
when you listen to it, it's like I was really in my head.
And that's like now we're getting to the times where that's my classic music right there.
Yeah.
Blink 182, that's
Oh.
classic.
What is it? 1985 by Bowling for Soup has a completely different meaning. Like when we were listening to 1985, they redid it and it's like 2005 because we're like so much time has passed.
They redid that?
They not Bowling for Soup. Another person came in and redid it to be relevant to the kids that were listening to 1985 now that most of us are grown up and we have children and we feel what
Yeah, I get you.
the mom in that song was feeling.
And Joseph, when you're looking back on things, do you typically feel embarrassed about some of the stuff that you used to like?
Not really.
Not really.
Yeah, I mean, I went through different phases just like everybody else. I never really listen to anything I was embarrassed about or anything like that. I have a lot of things you wouldn't think I'd listen to. Like I developed, one song in particular, Hello by Adele.
Yeah.
Dude, I was obsessed with that song for a long time. And then, is it Pink, Just a Pill?
Okay.
Yep.
Dude, I wanted to cover that song, and
Yep.
there's one other one she did that I thought would be a really good cover. But I wouldn't say embarrassed. It's just...
Did you like Hello before the Leo cover?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. And that's why I was so excited when he did the cover. Because I was like, oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Now, what's funny is almost every guy I know obsessed with Hello.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I've met a few women who've made fun of their significant others for liking that song so much. Not going to name any names. Jennifer. Joseph, what artist do you refuse to listen to?
Well, I marked out a bunch because I kept putting different ones.
Thought, no, I'm going to,
Yeah.
I'll listen to it.
Yeah, I settled on Billie Eilish. That's not to say I've heard some of her choruses that are really good, dude. But it's kind of like the whole mumble rap.
I knew.
I can only listen to so much
Yeah.
whispering.
ASMR
Yeah.
type stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to take anything away from her. It's just, I feel like if you were wanting to torture me, locking me in a room and just putting that on repeat would probably drive me insane.
My wife recently, because we were talking about Eilish and I'm not very experienced, I had heard, I think, Bad Guy and didn't care for it when I heard it. She made me sit down with the music videos until we actually found one that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take long, so I haven't heard a whole bunch, but the one I liked, whatever it was, she said it was covered by somebody else and she likes the cover better. So I think her vocal style must just be turning a lot of people off in spite of what I'm guessing is really good songwriting capability.
What video did you see?
She was bleeding black stuff out of her eyes toward
That's
the end.
when-
Oh, Katie made me watch that. She was like, look at this video. It's so cool. Dude, I was like, I don't even get what it is, man. And
When
she's like,
the
it's
party's
cool.
over, that was my Eilish song that I said you needed to listen to because it had made me cry recently. It was in my songs that make you cry.
Isn't she the one that does You Should See Me in a Crown?
Yes.
Or something like that. Dude, that chorus, oh my God. That is one, I could probably listen to the chorus over and over because I think the chorus is awesome. And I think it would do, again, another good metal cover. But it's just her whispering through the whole...
I also really enjoy All the Good Girls Go to Hell. There's a beat to it. It's not slow and drawn out.
Joseph, what's your favorite music video?
Incubus Volume 2. It's not necessarily, I didn't know what you meant, like, if it had to be a certain video to a song or what, but this is obviously, it's a full DVD, it's a full video, it's a live video. If I remember right, they do throw some videos in it. It's just a DVD, dude, and that, I think it is awesome. It's Incubus back when Brandon had the dreads and, you know, they were a totally different band back then.
And you've been into Incubus since before they were big name, right? Or did you just go backward in the discography once you started listening to them?
Yes, I kind of did that. Pardon Me is what I remember from them. And it wasn't until I moved to California and Dallas which I'm sure you've heard about. He threw on the video and was
It's an old friend of ours.
Was like, this is old Incubus. And I was like, what? And then, that's when science came about. Like, I really got into that. And I didn't know Incubus used to be, like, pretty heavy. I mean, as far as if you're comparing newer stuff to older, they were pretty heavy back then.
Yeah.
So that's where I got into that.
What's your favorite live album?
Linkin Park live in Texas.
Really?
Dude, oh my God. Best live album ever heard.
I've never sat down to listen to it. It's good, huh?
Dude, it is amazing. And that is one of my biggest regrets, is that I will never get a chance to see that band live.
Yeah.
Like, as far as, with the original lineup, I don't know what they're going to do now or what. But man, they sound, at least on that live album, dude, they sound amazing. And I like how they add things, like One Step Closer, they add something different. Like, every show, the bridge in that song is different.
Well, that's cool.
And it's awesome, dude. It's so awesome. They do this big intro and another live album. They're really good at doing live albums, but that was my favorite.
Very cool. I remember being at work when I found out that Chester had passed, and I was with people who they didn't really know, I don't think, much of anything but what was on the radio early on. And I had just finished listening to the new album, the last one that came out before that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough, because that was a rough album to listen to. You kind of knew he was not
where
in
his
the
mind was.
greatest place.
Yeah, and if you go back, you can really hear it the whole time, man. Even on Hybrid Theory, like, the song Crawling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dude, that is probably... I didn't really get into the lyrics, dissecting it as far as I did until after he committed suicide, because I wanted to know how this happened. Like, that wasn't anybody in that band that I thought, oh, one day you might commit. You know what I'm saying? Like, It didn't seem like that type of band, Like, it didn't seem like they were dealing with issues. It just seemed like they were, but if you really get into the lyrics, dude, Crawling, like, all that stuff, like, it just, you can really tell, obviously, the dude had, like, he had battled lots of issues, which is terrible.
And how beautiful is it, by the way? And it's a really sad loss or whatnot, but in a world where we really kind of let friendships fall by the wayside and then just don't worry about it ever again, that the loss of a friend could, tear someone that much, I don't know. There's something really powerful about it, in spite of it being a tragedy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
What makes for a bad musician?
I just put someone that's not. I mean, I believe if you really want to, you can learn to do lots of things. For instance, when I was in school, middle school, I wanted to be in band. And the lady was like, oh, what do you want to play? And I said, drums. She was like, do this with your hands and feet. And I was like, okay. So I was playing these little rhythms with my hands and feet. She was like, you don't have the rhythm to be a drummer. And I was like, okay, I'll show you, lady. That's what drove me one day. Like, I knew one day I was going to play drums because she told me I didn't have what it took to be a drummer. You know what I'm saying? And I learned, I'm not saying like I'm an amazing drummer, but obviously she was wrong, because I can keep a rhythm. Teacher lady, if you're listening.
Stupid teacher lady. That's cool. I like that answer.
I got something to say.
Well, say what you got to say.
We wanted to go ahead and give this to you now before we draw. This is your thank you for coming on. It's official Rated Radio merch, because all of our guests get one, and we just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to talk to our dumbasses about some music.
Yes, I got me a t-shirt.
Yeah. In spite of the stuff that went on this week, I am very much appreciative to have you on. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I said it earlier with my, what'd you call me?
Sappy shit.
Yeah, my sappy ass. I know it wasn't always obvious from the beginning, dude, but I'm extremely happy you've been in my life.
Well, thank you. As to you too.
Many thanks.
Let's get on to the drawing.
Ooh, okay. So, something about next week. We will have a guest on. It is a mystery guest.
It's me again. No.
Joseph lives here now.
And because next week is a mystery guest, we have a mystery artist next week. Tune into the social media to see what albums and artists we will be covering next week. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait till the show's out to know who we're covering, in addition to whoever comes out of our listener jam jar. You want to do the honors, Joseph?
Yes, I can. All right, let's get down to this. see what we got.
Love the commentary.
Oh, it's so deep in there.
He knows what he's doing just right off the bat. You can tell he's been in front of a mic.
Oh, I dumped some out.
He doesn't just leave dead silence.
I'm just grabbing. Okay. I got one now. We'll have to put those back. I dumped them all on the floor. But,
That was the best draw yet.
Oh, I got two. I'm gonna throw that one back. Not even look at it. Okay. Geez, these are tiny.
They are tiny, dude.
Maroon 5.
Maroon 5.
Okay.
The other side should say who requested it.
Oh, does it? Okay, I'm sorry. We got, I think it's Sandra. Let me see.
Yeah.
Yep, Sandra.
That sounds about right.
Sandra requested Maroon 5. So will be next week.
And what are your thoughts on Sandra, Joseph?
A mean lady. No, I'm just joking. No, I had a lot of fun out at their place, man. Corey, we were best friends for a long time.
Yeah.
Then they moved away. We used to always stay out there and play Guitar Hero and, drink Hypnotic and other things.
Get a certain someone to hit a fucking water bong in a bathtub for a jug of milk.
Yeah.
Fuck y'all, dude.
One of our favorites was gravity bongs back then. Homemade gravity bongs.
In Granbury, back in the woods, when we would sit up in the woods because we didn't want to stay in the houses, we'd have the fires going out there. I used to have the glass bottles for your drinks, and you'd like drill holes into them.
Oh, Sobe bottles.
Sobe bottles, thank you. Yeah, that was a big thing.
Those were pretty cool. I remember you could buy them, and you didn't even have to drill the hole. You would put a screwdriver right. They had these little indentions where they go in.
That's right.
And you would put a screwdriver right there on it, and if you tapped it,
pop it.
It would just the glass would break perfect. It's like they were designed to do that. Yeah. Like if there was a commercial, and they could legally market it, I bet they were like, finish the drink, pop the glass out, smoke. Or something. Those were, it just seemed too easy. Like, it seemed like it was really designed that way. I don't know.
Secret marketing in a way.
And to be clear, Sandra had no part in this. She just, She just was nice enough to let us run around and do whatever we wanted to do.
Yeah, this just all happened to be at her house.
Yeah. She was working because she was responsible and we were not most of the time. But thank you, Sandra. I'm guessing this is here because she watches the show that Adam hosts, the lead singer of Maroon 5.
The Voice.
Is it The Voice?
Oh, The Voice.
I don't know if he's still on it.
Yeah, I forgot he was on there.
But yeah, he was on it for a while.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I look forward to covering the music. I've only really heard the first album, so
okay.
It's gonna be interesting, along with our mystery guest and artist next week. So tune in. And I think that's gonna do it for this week. Come find us online. Let us know what you want to hear next, because it's what you choose to share that ultimately makes your melody unforgettable. You can email us at rated_radio@yahoo.com. And with that, we're gone again until next time.
Peace.
Later. Thanks for letting me be here.
Fill your life with music, and you're welcome.
Vagina.